From the moment we open our eyes in the morning, we are trained to believe that the world around us is fixed, solid, and unchangeable. We are told that life is a straight line: birth, school, work, and death. A predictable path. But what if this perception is only a sliver of the truth? What if the reality you live in is not as solid as you think, but more like liquid, shifting, bending, and reshaping itself in response to your awareness? For centuries, philosophers, mystics, and scientists alike have whispered about a hidden structure to existence, something beneath the surface that determines the way our lives unfold. And yet, most people never see it. We walk through life with blinders on, convinced that our environment dictates our future, when in fact our very consciousness may be the architect of everything we experience. The hidden nature of reality is not something you were taught in school. It is not part of the conversations you have over dinner. It is not written into the rules of society that govern your day-to-day life. But it is there, waiting in the quiet spaces between your thoughts, waiting in the shadows of your choices. It reveals itself in the moments you call coincidence, in the flashes of déjà vu that make you pause, in the dreams that feel more real than waking life. The first step to understanding the hidden nature of reality is to realize that what you see with your eyes is not all there is. Every object, every person, every moment is built from energy vibrating at different frequencies, and yet you cannot see that energy directly. Your senses filter it into something solid, something touchable, something believable. But the solidity is an illusion. At the deepest level, reality is made not of matter but of possibility. Think about the life you live now, the choices you've made, the path you walk. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had chosen differently? What if you had gone left instead of right, said yes instead of no, stayed instead of leaving? Most of us think of those what-ifs as fantasies, as roads never traveled. But what if they are not lost? What if they still exist, just in another layer of reality, invisible to you until you learn how to see? This idea is not just philosophy. It is supported by the strangest findings of modern physics. At the subatomic level, particles do not exist in fixed positions. They exist in states of probability, waiting to become real only when observed. Imagine that. Until you look, the universe does not decide. Until you bring your awareness, the outcome is undecided. Reality waits for you. The hidden nature of reality is that it is responsive. It does not simply unfold independently of you, it unfolds through you. The way you think, the way you believe, the way you focus your attention, these things are not passive. They are active ingredients in the creation of your world. And this truth has been echoed across cultures for millennia. Ancient mystics spoke of the universe as a dream, shaped by the dreamer. Religious texts whispered that faith could move mountains, that prayer could alter the course of destiny. Shamans, seers, and sages all knew that consciousness was not a passenger in reality, it was the driver. But in modern times, this knowledge has been buried beneath the noise of materialism and routine. We are told to focus on what is visible, measurable, and repeatable. We are told that science has all the answers, and that anything unexplainable is fantasy. Yet the very science that dismisses mystery has discovered, in its deepest experiments, that reality itself behaves like a mystery. You live in a world of cause and effect, yet hidden beneath it is a world of possibility and choice. Every thought you have, every belief you hold, is like a ripple across a still pond. The ripples spread outward, colliding with other ripples, creating patterns you cannot always predict. Sometimes those patterns manifest as opportunities that appear at just the right time. Sometimes they show up as unexpected obstacles, forcing you to grow. And sometimes they appear as strange, unexplainable synchronicities that leave you speechless. But these ripples are not random. They are the direct result of your consciousness interacting with reality. The hidden nature of existence is that your mind is not contained in your brain, but woven into the very fabric of the universe. What you think and feel radiates outward, shaping the probabilities of what you will experience next. Consider this. Two people can live through the same event and walk away with entirely different realities. One sees tragedy, while the other sees opportunity. One becomes broken, while the other becomes unshakable. The event itself is neutral. The difference is in the lens through which it was observed. And that lens, your perception, your consciousness, is what determines which version of reality you step into. This is why awareness matters. This is why intention matters. Because the hidden truth is that you are always in dialogue with the universe, even when you don't realize it. Your emotions are like language. Your thoughts are like commands. Your focus is like a spotlight calling certain possibilities into being while letting others fade into darkness. Reality, then, is not static. It is dynamic, fluid, malleable, like clay waiting to be shaped, or a canvas waiting for the brush. And you are the artist. Whether you know it or not, most people live unconsciously, shaping without awareness, creating by default. They repeat patterns, recycle beliefs, and walk in circles. But the moment you awaken to the hidden nature of reality, you see that you can create deliberately. You can shift. You can choose. The hidden nature of reality is not about escaping the world. It is about seeing it clearly for the first time. It is about peeling back the illusion of solidity and understanding that the universe is alive, responsive, and waiting for your command. It is about recognizing that nothing is fixed, and that possibility is not something that exists out there but something that surrounds you at every moment. Chapter 2. The Double-Slit Experiment. The Science of Possibility. In the early 1800s, a British scientist named Thomas Young set up a simple yet revolutionary experiment that would forever alter how we understand the universe. He wanted to test a basic question: what is the true nature of light? At the time, some believed light was made of particles, tiny solid points racing through space. Others argued that light behaved like a wave, flowing in ripples the way sound or water moves. To test this mystery, Young created what is now known as the double-slit experiment, an experiment that became one of the most profound demonstrations of reality's hidden structure. Imagine a wall with two narrow slits cut into it, side by side. Behind that wall sits another surface, a screen, that records whatever passes through the slits. Now, when light was directed at the slits, what appeared on the screen was astonishing. Instead of forming just two bands of light, as one would expect if light behaved like solid particles, the screen revealed a pattern of interference, like the rippling of waves overlapping each other. Light was acting like a wave, spreading through both slits and interfering with itself. This was shocking, because it suggested that light was not simply a particle, it was a wave of possibilities. But science did not stop there. Over the decades, as technology advanced, scientists repeated this experiment, but this time not with beams of light, rather with particles of matter themselves, such as electrons. What they found was even stranger. When electrons were fired one by one through the two slits, the same interference pattern emerged. It was as though each single electron passed through both slits simultaneously, behaving like a wave of probability rather than a defined particle. The conclusion was impossible to ignore. At the most fundamental level, the universe does not behave like solid matter. It behaves like energy, probability waves existing in multiple states at once. This is what scientists now call quantum superposition. A particle, until observed, exists in many potential states simultaneously. It is both here and there, both present and absent, both wave and particle. It is only when observation occurs that the wave of possibilities collapses into a single outcome, a fixed reality. Until then, reality itself remains fluid, undefined, existing in potential rather than certainty. But then came the most astonishing twist in the story. Physicists wondered, what if we set up detectors to see which slit the particle actually passes through? In other words, what if we watched the experiment unfold? When they did, the results shattered logic. The moment the act of observation was introduced, the interference pattern disappeared. The electrons no longer behaved like waves of infinite possibilities. Instead, they acted like simple particles, passing through one slit or the other. It was as if the very act of conscious observation changed the outcome of reality. This was not a mistake. The results were repeated again and again, and the conclusion remained: the universe behaves differently depending on whether it is being observed. The observer is not separate from the experiment. The observer and the observed are connected. This is the foundation of quantum physics, and it challenges the very idea of what is real. What does this mean for our lives? It means that the world around us is not a fixed, rigid structure carved into stone. Instead, it is fluid, dynamic, and alive with infinite potential. Just like the particles in the double-slit experiment, our reality exists as a wave of possibilities until we focus our attention on it. Our choices, our beliefs, and even our expectations act like the observer in the experiment. They collapse the infinite possibilities into one timeline, the one we call our life. Think about it. Every decision you make, every belief you hold, every expectation you project into the future, these are the slits through which your reality passes. And depending on how you observe your life, depending on where your attention goes, the outcome changes. You are not a passive participant in life. You are the observer, the one collapsing possibilities into the form of lived reality. Let's go deeper. Imagine standing at a crossroads in your life. In one direction, you choose fear, doubt, and limitation. In the other, you choose courage, faith, and possibility. Both futures exist in potential. They are like waves waiting to collapse. The moment you choose, the moment you align your focus, one of those futures becomes real. The other vanishes into the field of what could have been. Just like the particles on the screen, your life leaves a mark, a pattern shaped by the choices you made and the focus you held. The double-slit experiment also tells us something profound about the nature of consciousness. Scientists once believed that consciousness was simply a byproduct of the brain, nothing more than neurons firing in complex patterns. But experiments like this suggest otherwise. They imply that consciousness plays an active role in shaping reality itself. Observation is not passive, it is creative. The observer is not merely looking at reality. The observer is participating in the unfolding of reality. This is why so many great thinkers, from mystics to philosophers, have insisted for centuries that the mind holds more power than we realize. Ancient spiritual traditions spoke of this in terms of prayer, intention, and manifestation. They said that what you hold in your mind, what you focus on with emotion and belief, eventually becomes your experience. Now, quantum physics gives us a scientific lens to view the same truth. The double-slit experiment is not only a piece of physics, it is a mirror reflecting back to us the creative power of our own awareness. Some scientists were disturbed by this implication. They preferred to think of the universe as mechanical, predictable, and separate from human consciousness. But no matter how many times the experiment was run, the result remained the same. When unobserved, particles exist in waves of probability. When observed, those waves collapse into one outcome. The act of observation matters. Consciousness matters. And so, this experiment has become more than a scientific puzzle. It has become a doorway into understanding the hidden structure of reality. It suggests that the universe is not just out there, operating independently of us. Instead, it is deeply connected to us, responsive to us, shaped by the way we perceive it. In a very real sense, we are not living in the universe. We are co-creating it with every thought, every observation, every intention we hold. Chapter 3. The Multiverse. Countless versions of you. Imagine for a moment that every decision you have ever made, every small choice, every hesitation, every bold leap, has created a branch in reality. Picture your life as a great tree, and at every fork in the branches, a new possibility emerges. In one branch, you said yes. In another, you said no. In yet another, you hesitated too long, and the opportunity slipped away. According to the multiverse theory, all those branches do not disappear. They continue to exist. They stretch outward endlessly, forming an infinite network of realities. And in each of those realities, there is a version of you, living out the consequences of those choices. This is not simply science fiction. The foundations of this idea are deeply embedded in quantum physics. When physicists studied the nature of particles, they discovered that outcomes are not singular but multiple. Each possibility exists until it is observed or experienced. If reality behaves like this at the smallest level, then what prevents the same principles from applying at the level of entire universes? The multiverse theory dares to answer that question. It suggests that every possibility that can exist, does exist, somewhere. Think about what this means. There is a version of you who followed a dream you abandoned. There is a version of you who took the risk you feared. There is another who stayed in a relationship you left. Another who walked away from the one you stayed in. Every fork in the road leads to a different world. While your consciousness is tuned into this version of reality right now, countless others unfold in parallel. It is not just science. It is a mirror to the hidden power of your choices. In one reality, you are wealthy beyond imagination because you dared to invest when others were afraid. In another, you are living in obscurity because you never took a chance. In one world, you are deeply fulfilled, aligned with purpose. In another, you feel empty because you ignored the whispers of your inner calling. And none of these versions cancel each other out. They coexist, side by side, in layers of possibility that stretch beyond comprehension. This realization changes how you look at destiny. You are not trapped in one singular storyline. You are not fated to remain in the conditions you see right now. Instead, you are surrounded by infinite realities, waiting for you to align with them. The multiverse reveals that choice is power, and more importantly, it reveals that you are never stuck. At any moment, you can redirect your path, step into a different branch of the tree. When you understand the multiverse, you also understand the illusion of limitation. The version of you who is confident, disciplined, powerful, already exists. The version of you who has broken free from fear, who has built success, who has found peace, is not a fantasy. They are real, alive, in another timeline. The only question is whether you will align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with that version of yourself. The multiverse is not only about grand, life-changing decisions. It exists in the smallest details. Right now there is a version of you who chose to drink coffee instead of tea this morning. A version who took a different route to work. A version who decided to stay silent when you chose to speak. These tiny variations ripple outward, creating entirely different lives. If the smallest shift can create new realities, then imagine the scale of change that comes from altering your deepest beliefs, your boldest actions, your core identity. Scientists who support the multiverse theory describe reality as a wave of probabilities. Each wave holds countless outcomes, and the act of living collapses one wave into a single experience. But the other waves, the other outcomes, do not vanish. They continue branching into their own universes. In this sense, you are both the experiencer and the creator. Your consciousness tunes into one outcome, one vibration, while countless others remain available. Philosophers and mystics have spoken of this for centuries. Ancient texts describe multiple planes of existence, parallel worlds, unseen dimensions. The multiverse theory, while born from science, echoes these ancient teachings. It suggests that our lives are not bound by the visible, but influenced by realities we cannot see. This explains why sometimes you feel a deep pull towards something unfamiliar, why a place feels like you have been there before, why a decision feels heavier than logic can explain. Perhaps it is because another version of you is living that path already, and your soul is sensing it. The most powerful implication of the multiverse is personal empowerment. If all versions of you exist, then the greatest version of you is already real. The question is not whether you can become them, but whether you will step into alignment with them. You are not creating your best self from nothing. You are tuning into them, like a radio frequency, by adjusting your mindset, your emotions, your focus. Think of it like a mirror hall. You walk through, and you see endless reflections of yourself, some distorted, some brighter, some darker. The multiverse is that mirror hall, but instead of illusions, each reflection is real, unfolding somewhere in existence. The choices you make in this reality decide which reflection you become aligned with. The power lies not in wishing, but in shifting, in deliberately choosing thoughts that match the reality you desire, in practicing actions that harmonize with the life you want. Consider this. When you imagine a better future, you are not simply fantasizing, you are sensing a possible timeline. When you feel drawn to a vision of yourself, stronger, freer, more fulfilled, you are glimpsing a version of you that already exists. The multiverse reveals that your dreams are not random illusions, but doorways. They are glimpses into parallel realities, calling you to shift. The skeptics might ask, if infinite versions of me exist, what does this one matter? But that question misses the point. This version of reality, the one you are living right now, is your arena of choice. It is where you hold the steering wheel of consciousness. The other versions of you are not meant to make this life meaningless. They are meant to remind you of what is possible. They prove that you are never locked in. They show you that limitation is a lie. And so, when you stand at a crossroads in life, you are not choosing one path out of nothing. You are choosing which branch of the multiverse you will align with. Every decision, no matter how small, is a shift. Every belief is a key that unlocks a different reality. Every moment is a chance to redirect yourself toward the timeline where your greatest potential already lives. Chapter 4. The Power of Consciousness. Consciousness is not just awareness. It is not simply your thoughts, your memories, or the stream of inner dialogue that flows through your mind. Consciousness is the field in which all of reality emerges. It is the lens through which the infinite possibilities of the quantum world collapse into the singular experience we call life. For centuries, philosophers and mystics have insisted that the mind shapes reality. Science once dismissed this as superstition, but the deeper we look into quantum physics, the harder it is to deny our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions influence the very fabric of the universe. When you think of yourself, you often imagine a body, a physical form, moving through space. But the truth is that you are not the body. You are the awareness that animates it. Your body is made of atoms, and atoms are made of subatomic particles, and those particles, when measured, dissolve into pure energy and probability. The body, the world, the universe itself, are not solid. They are fields of vibrating energy. And what directs this energy? Consciousness. The observer effect beyond science. The observer effect in quantum mechanics shows that the act of observation influences the outcome. But beyond the laboratory, this principle applies to life itself. Every thought you hold is a form of observation. When you focus on fear, you strengthen fear. When you focus on abundance, you amplify abundance. It is not magic. It is alignment. Your mind works like a tuning fork. Every thought and emotion vibrates at a frequency, and that frequency aligns you with matching realities. The consciousness you project becomes the reality you experience. When you wake up dreading the day, when your mind is filled with doubt and lack, you are unconsciously choosing a timeline where struggle dominates. But when you wake with gratitude, with clarity, with conviction, you are choosing a timeline of growth and expansion. Consciousness is the steering wheel of your reality. The role of belief. Belief is not just a passive thought. Belief is a command to the quantum field. When you believe deeply in something, you collapse possibilities into form. That is why placebos heal people. Even sugar pills can cure illness when the mind believes. Belief bypasses logic. It programs the subconscious. And the subconscious is directly connected to the creative fabric of reality. Think of belief as coding the software of existence. If you program the code with fear, you manifest realities where fear thrives. If you program it with certainty and vision, you manifest realities where success and abundance unfold. This is why religions, affirmations, mantras, and rituals exist. They are tools to anchor belief. They are ways of embedding conviction into consciousness, so that reality bends to match it. Emotions. The energy of creation. Thoughts alone are weak. Without emotion, it is emotion that charges a thought with power. Imagine trying to manifest peace while filled with anxiety. It cannot align. Imagine dreaming of abundance while vibrating with desperation. The signals are mismatched. Emotions are energy in motion. They are the frequency your consciousness emits. Joy, gratitude, love, and trust are high-frequency emotions. They harmonize with realities of growth and opportunity. Fear, anger, shame, and guilt are low-frequency emotions. They harmonize with realities of limitation and suffering. When you visualize your goals, it is not enough to see them. You must feel them. You must embody the emotion of already having them. That emotional state is what impresses the subconscious, and the subconscious is what connects to the infinite field of potential. The subconscious mind as the bridge. The subconscious mind is not limited by time or logic. It cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality. That is why athletes visualize success before competitions. That is why people relive trauma through nightmares. The subconscious accepts whatever is imprinted upon it, and then aligns reality to match. This is the bridge between consciousness and quantum reality. Whatever the subconscious accepts as true, it begins to broadcast as a frequency, and the universe mirrors it back. You are always programming your subconscious, through the words you repeat, the stories you tell yourself, the emotions you allow. The question is, are you programming it deliberately, or by default? Visualization, seeing before it exists. Visualization is more than daydreaming. It is the conscious act of directing the quantum field. When you close your eyes and imagine a reality with full detail, seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, you are planting a seed in the field of possibility. Olympic athletes have used this technique for decades. They visualize the race, the finish line, the sound of victory. Studies show that the brain fires the same neurons during visualization as it does during actual performance. In other words, the mind does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. When practiced consistently, visualization imprints the subconscious, charges emotion, and aligns consciousness with a desired timeline. The reality you see internally begins to pull you toward it externally. Prayer and intention as conscious commands. Prayer is one of the oldest forms of consciousness shaping reality, stripped of religious language. Prayer is simply focused intention sent into the infinite. It is thought infused with faith. Intention is its modern counterpart, the setting of a clear, unwavering direction. Both are ways of aligning energy. When you pray or set intention, you move from passively reacting to reality into actively creating it. The words may vary, God, source, universe, but the mechanics remain. You are communicating with the field of infinite potential and directing it. The frequency of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools of consciousness. When you are grateful, you shift your energy immediately. Gratitude signals to the subconscious that abundance already exists, that blessings are present, and the subconscious, believing this to be true, aligns you with timelines where more abundance flows. This is why gratitude journals and daily practices are so effective. Gratitude collapses possibilities into realities of more to be grateful for. Why consciousness shapes your world. Your outer world is not separate from your inner state. It is a mirror. Every situation you encounter reflects the dominant patterns of your mind and emotions. If conflict surrounds you, there is conflict within you. If peace surrounds you, there is peace within you. This does not mean you are to blame for every hardship, but it does mean you are never powerless. By shifting your consciousness, you shift how reality responds. You may not control every event, but you can control your vibration, and your vibration determines the timeline you walk into. Chapter 5. The Path to Quantum Shifting. When you first hear the phrase quantum shifting, it might sound like something out of science fiction, something reserved for movies about time travel or alternate dimensions. But at its core, quantum shifting is about aligning your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, with the reality you desire to experience in the outer world. It is less about physically stepping into another dimension, and more about choosing which version of reality you tune into, the way you might choose a station on a radio. To understand this path, think of life as an infinite library. Every possible story of your life is already written, some in which you are struggling, some in which you are struggling, some in which you took chances, and some in which you played it safe. Each book represents a timeline, a reality where you made certain choices and lived with certain consequences. You are the reader, and through your focus and your state of being, you are selecting which book to pull off the shelf. Quantum shifting is the act of deliberately picking a different book, a different story, and stepping into it. So how do you do this? How do you consciously shift into the version of reality where your dreams are not just possibilities but actualities? The path to quantum shifting can be broken down into several interconnected practices, each one reinforcing the other. Visualization, the blueprint of your future. The first step is visualization. Your mind cannot distinguish between something vividly imagined and something physically experienced. Neuroscientists have found that when you imagine yourself performing an action, running, playing piano, giving a speech, the same regions of your brain light up as when you physically do it. This means that when you visualize your desired reality, you are already creating neural pathways as if you are living it. Visualization is more than daydreaming. It is not a passive escape, but an active construction. When you visualize, you are building the blueprint of your future. The key is detail. Instead of merely saying, "I want to be successful," imagine what that success looks like. What are you wearing when you walk into your office? What does your bank account say when you open it? What kind of conversations are you having with people? How does your body feel when you wake up in that reality? The more sensory details you include, the stronger the blueprint becomes, and the clearer your signal to the quantum field grows. Belief, the fuel that activates the shift. Visualization without belief is like planting seeds on concrete. The second pillar is belief. You must not only see the reality you want, you must believe it is possible, and more than that, believe it is already unfolding. This is where many people struggle. They visualize wealth but carry a deep belief that they will always be poor. They imagine love but secretly think they are unworthy of it. These conflicting signals confuse the quantum field. The universe responds not to what you say you want, but to the dominant frequency of your beliefs. If your subconscious belief contradicts your conscious intention, the subconscious wins every time. To strengthen belief, repetition is essential. Affirmations, journaling, and mental rehearsal reprogram the subconscious mind. You are convincing yourself not through force, but through familiarity. The more you expose your mind to the image of your desired reality, the more natural it feels. Belief shifts from someday to inevitable. That inner conviction is the ignition switch that activates the shift. Emotional alignment. Feeling the frequency. Thoughts and beliefs set the stage, but emotions are the fuel that powers the shift. Every emotion vibrates at a certain frequency. Joy, gratitude, love. These are high-frequency states. Fear, doubt, resentment. These are lower frequencies. The reality you want exists at a certain frequency, and to align with it, you must feel the emotions of that reality now. This is where many people misunderstand manifestation. They think they must wait until their dream comes true to feel happy. In truth, you must feel happy to align with the dream. If you want abundance, cultivate gratitude for the money you already have, even if it is small. If you want love, embody the emotions of love, self-love, compassion, joy before another person shows up. Your emotions are signals, and the universe responds to the signals you broadcast. By feeling now what you want to feel later, you collapse the distance between you and the reality you desire. Detachment, letting go of control. Paradoxically, the more you try to force a reality to appear, the more you push it away. The next step in the path is detachment. Detachment does not mean apathy. It does not mean you stop caring about your dreams. It means you release the obsessive need to control how and when they appear. Think of planting a seed. Once you put it in the soil, you water it, you give it sunlight, and then you trust nature to do the rest. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. That would kill it. The same is true for shifting. Once you set your intention and align with it, you must trust the process. Obsession, doubt, and impatience are like digging up the seed. Detachment allows the universe to deliver in its own timing, which is often faster and more elegant than anything you could force. Action, anchoring the shift in reality. Quantum shifting is not an excuse to sit still and wait for miracles. The final pillar is action. Action is what anchors the shift in the physical world. When you take steps that align with your desired reality, you are telling the universe, "I am serious. I am ready." If your desired reality is health, Action might mean changing your diet, exercising, or seeking medical advice. If it is wealth, action might mean starting a business, applying for a job, or investing in skills. These actions do not create the shift by themselves, but they demonstrate commitment, and that commitment strengthens belief. Even small actions ripple through the quantum field, reinforcing your chosen timeline. Integration, living as the future self. When all these pillars, visualization, belief, emotion, detachment, and action, work together, something remarkable happens. You begin to live as if you are already your future self. You start making decisions from the perspective of the person who already has what they want. Instead of asking, "What should I do to get there?" you ask, "What would my future self do right now?" That question bridges the gap between who you are and who you are becoming. This is the true essence of quantum shifting, not merely wanting a new reality, but embodying it, not waiting for proof to believe, but believing until proof arrives, not chasing after outcomes, but tuning into the frequency where those outcomes already exist. Chapter 6. Signs of the Shift and the Ultimate Truth. When you begin walking the path of quantum shifting, you might ask yourself, how do I know it's working? How do I know reality is actually bending to my thoughts, my emotions, my intentions? This is where awareness becomes your compass. The signs of shifting are often subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but the more you pay attention, the more they reveal themselves. And once you recognize them, you realize you are no longer just living life on autopilot. You are navigating a new dimension of existence, a dimension where your mind is the pilot and reality itself is the canvas. The first and most common sign is time distortion. You might notice moments when time seems to speed up or slow down in ways that defy logic. Perhaps you glance at the clock and hours have passed in what felt like minutes. Or maybe you've been deeply focused, and when you check, barely any time has moved at all. These distortions are not accidents. They are indicators that your consciousness is aligning with a new frequency. Time is not as rigid as you once believed. It bends and stretches in response to the state of your awareness, reflecting your movement between timelines. Another sign is the appearance of synchronicities. Suddenly, patterns begin to emerge around you. Numbers, names, symbols, and encounters that feel too perfectly timed to be coincidence. You may keep seeing repeating numbers like 1111, 222, or 333. You might think about someone, and then immediately receive a call or message from them. You could be considering a major life change and suddenly overhear a stranger speaking the exact words you needed to hear. These synchronicities are the universe whispering, "Yes, you're on the right path." They are the breadcrumbs left behind to guide you through the labyrinth of infinite realities. Then comes the sensation of déjà vu. You walk into a room you've never been in before, yet it feels hauntingly familiar. You meet a person for the first time, yet it feels like you've known them forever. Déjà vu is not simply a glitch in your brain. It is the overlap of timelines. It's a glimpse into the fact that you've already existed in a parallel version of this moment, and now your consciousness is brushing against that reality as you transition into alignment. Each déjà vu is a reminder that time is not linear but layered, and that your awareness is beginning to pierce through those layers. Beyond déjà vu, there are shifts in your physical environment. Have you ever misplaced an object, searched everywhere for it, only to have it reappear in the exact spot you checked a dozen times? Or notice small details in your surroundings that feel slightly altered, as if something doesn't look the way you remembered it? These are micro glitches in reality, signs that you are slipping between parallel versions of your world. The couch cushion isn't in the same place. The word in your book reads differently. A landmark in your neighborhood feels subtly changed. These aren't mistakes. They are confirmations that you are shifting timelines, weaving into a new reality thread by thread. Another undeniable sign is the arrival of new opportunities that align perfectly with your desires. Doors you once thought were locked suddenly swing open. People enter your life who carry the exact resources, connections, or wisdom you need to move forward. Situations unfold that once seemed impossible. What used to feel like coincidence now feels intentional. That job offer, that chance meeting, that unexpected stroke of luck, these are not random. They are manifestations born out of your conscious alignment with the reality where those outcomes already exist. As these signs grow stronger, you begin to experience shifts within yourself. Your old patterns of thought no longer hold power. Fear begins to dissolve, replaced by an expanding sense of possibility. You notice that when you think positively, the world reflects positivity back at you. When you focus on abundance, opportunities multiply. When you carry gratitude, life becomes filled with reasons to be grateful. This inner transformation is the clearest sign of all that you are no longer living in reaction to the world, but that the world is responding to you. But perhaps the most profound sign of shifting is the feeling of inner resonance, the unshakable knowing that you are in the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing. It is a calm yet powerful certainty that reality is bending with you, not against you. It feels like being carried by an unseen current, guiding you toward the life you have envisioned. Even when challenges appear, you sense they are not obstacles, but stepping stones, shaping you into the person who belongs in your chosen timeline. Still, the journey of shifting is not without resistance. As you expand into new realities, your old identity may try to cling to you. Doubts may rise. The voice of fear may whisper that none of this is real, that you're imagining it all. But here's the truth. Resistance is also a sign. It means you are stretching beyond the limits of your former self, breaking through into a new frequency of existence. The friction you feel is not proof of failure. It is proof of transformation. You may also notice vivid dreams as a sign of shifting. These dreams can feel hyper-real, like alternate lives you are living while you sleep. Sometimes you wake up disoriented, unsure of which version of reality you've returned to. These are not random illusions. They are glimpses into the infinite universes where other versions of you reside. When your dreams begin to align with your desires, it means your subconscious is preparing the bridge between your current self and your future self. There's another layer too, the feeling of energetic sensitivity. You become more aware of the vibrations around you, people's moods, the energy of a room, the subtle shifts in atmosphere. Crowds may feel heavier, nature may feel more alive, music may resonate in deeper ways. This sensitivity is your expanded consciousness tuning into frequencies it once ignored. You are not only shifting yourself, you are also becoming attuned to the shifting energy of the entire universe. And then as all these signs converge, time distortion, synchronicities, déjà vu, environmental glitches, opportunities, interchange, dreams, energetic sensitivity, you begin to uncover the ultimate truth. Reality has never been as rigid as you were taught. The walls you believed in were never real walls. The limits you accepted were never true limits. You were never a prisoner of circumstance, never a victim of fate. You have always been the shaper, the chooser, the creator. Quantum shifting does not give you a new power. It reveals the power you already had, hidden beneath layers of doubt, conditioning and fear.